I'm going to talk about insights, seeing inside the self, and I'm going to divide it into two counterparts, each counter the other. One is the companionship, spending time with the self, seeing the self in various ways, takes away a lot of the loneliness and disconnection of those parts kind of functioning on their own. Giving company to the self is what insight work is. And also, instead of giving company to everybody everywhere. And then also advocating for the self is the other side of that. Instead of the gift of company, it's saying the gift often can be to remove things that are not good company, or to stop relationships that need more insight in order to be harmonious. So the first thing is, there's got to be a good platform to start with. So you have to start with saying, I'm going to speak for myself. I am a good and godly woman with the godly features, deserving of some partnership, whether it's romantic or friendship or family, where there's not a tyrant who turns to me, chooses by free choice, who elevates and elevate. There's the elevation happening to the spiritual standard. And I can do so when I curb the anger of pain of not getting my way. So this is an insight which kind of sounds like I'm good and I do good, but it's a lot more real for me. It's that when I can control my temper, which is a temporary feeling of being out of control, or somebody is on purpose trying to hurt me, if I am able to remember I'm godly, I'm good, I'm going to be attracting people who love me and care about me, and I do deserve someone who's not a tyrant by force, who's not into deprivation mentality, and instead there's the elevation happening. Let's say I'm very generous and I get angry when others are not generous. Then I have to be more generous with my patients. I can see I'm a hypocrite in some way because I'm not being generous with benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming this one came from abundance in the same areas like me, privilege, and so on. Another place to start is finding a type of cultural identity. I'm a Jew. What are the 3 signs of being Jewish? 1, humility or shyness. Not needing to be the star of the show, not needing to be the winner always, not needing to get all the credit. Also charitable, so being generous and sharing, and enjoying kind of not just for the sake of getting the credit, like I said, but even anonymous giving and so on. And then kind actions is like indeed in action, bringing kindness into the world, just smiling, just, like I said, giving benefit of the doubt, not making assumptions. These are kind actions. Then kind of spending a little time with myself for a day and saying, who gave me good feedback today that felt good? And there was a neighbor who said, I'm smart, I'm very interested in a lot of things, I'm creative, I'm spiritual, and I'm kind of pretty. And I thought that made me feel good to hear these things. It's very balanced, all different sides of me. And she has nothing to gain. She's, best case, I like how it feels, but there's a relationship there. So I could trust it. And then I can look at some of the ways in which I connect with nature. And I use the 12 tribes, which also have connections with nature. For example, Ruvain, the firstborn, is connected to water, flowing water. Yisachar, the fifth one, is connected to the donkey, the stubbornness, but also the strength to work that hard. Dan is the judge. He's connected to the serpent. Binyamin, Dan is number 7. Binyamin is number 11, and he's a wolf. Naphtali is, and the wolf is able to be a lone wolf, very brave and cunning. And then there's Judah the lion is number 4, and he's the leadership. And I'll go into, and then Joseph. Joseph is like, he's not considered the bull, but he's kind of like, if Judah's the lion leader, Joseph is the bull leader. And I mean, he's considered like a bull, but it's not from his blessings that he represents. And then there's Naphtali the 8, which is like a loose hind that flies running so fast. In Buddhism, what we call this insight work is called the Hiru. It says the wings is mindfulness and compassion. You fly high with mindfulness and compassion. And then in Judaism, we call it Hir-Hor. And the wings are the truth of the Torah, and the mitzvos, which is like the good deeds and the commandments, which bind us to the source of life. And you could say there's other times where these two pathways will seem similar. For example, on the Sinai mountain and the Shiva mountain, God appeared in the story. And you have in other traditions, yoga, Vedanta, Hindu, like all of these come together. There's a lot of overlap. Another we could look at, like I said, is Judah and Joseph. So thinking about how you are a leader in your life. So the letters of seeing is Judah, which is clearly how to benefit, like seeing clearly the people around us, their weaknesses, how to empower them, identifying with every person, even the weakest link of the chain, and saying that one needs to become great too. And leading is the difference between being the king and being the controller. Also, there's fear involved, which is dread, awe of the great. This is the lion energy. We want to do the right thing, not against unity, life, or power. And this is like the king that is so glorious. Then you have Joseph as the bull, which is the letters of seeing also, but how to get on the straight line. So this one stays focused and disciplined, and everybody kind of magnetizes, versus the one that relates to everyone and builds them up. There's one that stays so disciplined and protecting, like a fortress, like a wall, and it goes in that way. It can go to the worst places and stay on track. And that's the inspiration. That's the anchor. And it's not just like around the easy. Like Joseph as the bull was sent to Egypt. So he had a defensiveness that allows for the glory to actually emerge from the rubble, versus the king is just, we humble ourselves in the lion's presence, but with the bull, we feel exalted by this one who could emerge from greatness from the lowest place. They inspire us in different ways, and you can see what kind of leader comes out of you, where you're coming from. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, all of this is temporary. So at death, the court asks, were you honest in your business affairs? You could say your business, mind your own business. Were you honest with everything that concerns you, with your affairs, with your relationships, with the ways you got money, with your mail, with your friendships? Number 2, did you procreate? Or if you didn't, did you work for the future? Did you think of the children, of the coming generations, of merits for grandchildren, for the earth itself to be a good place for them to live? Did you teach the new generation? Did you teach the youth how to be happy in the world and meaningful living? Number 3, did you have hope in the redemption? Did you believe like it was all worth it, that there was a reason for everything? Or, did you actually get over the fear that it's all random and the chaos has no meaning? And did you actually do a lifestyle choice of belief in redemption, that everything is good, good wins and everything is good? And number 4, did you seek wisdom? What was most valuable to you? What did you have in your pockets? What did you have in your backpack? What did you make efforts toward? And now we can look at, like I said earlier, giving benefit of the doubt is like a resource. So not having standards, it doesn't mean that you think nobody's allowed to do anything to you, so you have to stay away from everybody because you don't trust yourself, that you're not gonna lose your temper. And it means learning how to communicate. It means not being in denial, but also not like letting everybody just step all over you. It means learning to communicate when people break the boundaries, instead of giving up immediately. So giving up immediately looks like avoidance, or it looks like attachment to the person, so you never speak up. But actually learning how to advocate is being a source of love and forgiveness for myself. It's releasing the shame, the guilt, and embarrassment. It's validating myself and getting curious about me. It's saying, okay, let me let this other person, this other idea go, and see where these opinions are coming from, and where am I trying to stay grounded by even contorting myself, maybe. It tells me that I'm deserving of health, love, and kindness, and there's nobody that I should sacrifice that for. Even if you want to be good to your children, if you have children, you cannot if you don't have health and love and kindness to be here. And finally, replacing the self-whipping, the self-flagellation with a positive identity. Like I started, I am beautiful, I am spiritual, I'm smart. Like I started, I'm godly. God made me to be this way, and it doesn't mean that I get any credit. But, in terms of, let's say, the woman as the fuel and the man as the flame, our first relationship like that is really with our parents, but they represent God for us. So it's like God gives us the software running the soul. That's the woman, right? And then she lets the man take care of her He needs someone to take care of. She gives him purpose and meaning. So it's kind of like, in just the fact that we receive from our Creator nourishment, the sustainer role, we become more like the fuel and the flame becomes one in us. And we get to act this out with our parents. They love to make us happy. So if we actually are happy with what they're doing, our joy, our bright eyes, and our smiles, and our open heart, and our excitement gives them life. It gives our parents life to take care of us. So if we can believe that God lives through us, and this higher power of life is living through our skin, through our physical body, we can have the ability to both be standing our ground and finding the common ground. So stand our ground means I need such and such. And finding the common ground means you have that to provide and you want to, and it would be your pleasure, and I need it, and I can be humble. I don't have to be afraid of receiving, of being the woman or the man in this. And we're all a woman for God, in other words. That's where it starts. So I'm going to read a poem now, which is called Liberation of Being Whole. What is the cost versus benefit of hanging on to an obsolete pattern in language? The words of oppression, the oppressions are never sustainable. It's codependency for others to need us to keep small, or that for their well-being to be dependent on smushing me down and invalidating me. Since it will fail, what's the use of even catering to it? And so what's the payoff? Especially as a woman, I feel I have to carry history. The female is space for man, for a sperm, for new life, for 9 months, for example. What languages do I carry? Intimacy. Into me I say. Into me I see. Into me I sigh. Looking for a piece of me in someone else. My piece, a piece of us. What leaves us vulnerable to their dependence on our staying still? Still staying still. As Bob Marley says, could you be loved? Did you let yourself be lovable, or only certain parts at certain times in certain places? But we show the good parts, not the bad parts, and the shadow of someone showing bad parts only links up with someone showing good parts only, and vice versa, like a magnet, the hidden weights finding polar opposites. Two sides of the same coin, one wanting to be loved unconditionally and showing the shameful areas and hidden guilt, and one wanting to be loved conditionally and showing only flashy and impressive parts. So these two halves inside us, inside me, the wounded feminine, the wounded masculine. You're a hero, I'm a hero. The hero's journey is uniting the feminine and masculine. It's a choice on this journey. There's no other half, no one to complete me. No one out of two. Just the inevitable grieving of my own completeness. Wishing you in your inner self's journey, companionship, advocacy, gifts, and it's a sign of a leader to stand the ground and find common ground.